60 years after the Cuban Revolution, what is the current state of Cuba-U.S. relations? And how much has President Trump pulled back from progress made during the Obama and Castro administrations? Hello, I'm Anand Naidu, and this is The Heat. On New Year's Day, Cuba marked the 60th anniversary of its revolution. Over the last 6 decades, Cuba's relationship with its neighbor, the United States, has had a major impact on the island nation. And despite reconciliation efforts in recent years, relations between the countries are again facing new challenges. We begin with this report from CGTN correspondent Luis Chirino in Havana.
In his speech during National Liberation Day on New Year's Day, former Cuban president and current Communist Party leader Raúl Castro described U.S. policy towards Cuba.
Now, once again, the U.S. government seems to be taking the course of confrontation with Cuba. Cubans are prepared to resist the confrontational scenario, which we do not want.
Castro's comments follow pointed jabs by top U.S. government officials directed at Cuba and its allies in the region.
The troika of tyranny in this hemisphere, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, has finally met its match.
In March 2016, then-President Barack Obama visited Havana and expressed his commitment to boost bilateral relations in a move to reverse half a century of confrontation. With the new initiative, U.S. eased trade and travel restrictions for commercial airlines and cruise ships. Just months later, while on the campaign trail for president, Donald Trump signaled how he felt about U.S.-Cuba relations.
But all of the concessions that Barack Obama has granted the Castro regime were done through executive order, which means the next president can reverse them.
Once elected, President Trump moved to roll back policies by limiting trade with Cuba and people-to-people exchanges, which directly affected the private sector here. Starting in 2017, the U.S. started reducing its embassy staff in Havana and closed consular services after alleged sonic attacks on its diplomats. The move was denounced by Cuban authorities who denied any involvement.
They continue with this manipulation of the so-called health incidents of U.S. diplomats as a pretext to further affect bilateral relations.
Despite Donald Trump's policy aimed at reverting what had been achieved under Barack Obama, some bilateral projects considered then by the two countries have become a reality. In 2018, Cuba and the U.S. set up their first joint venture in the area of biotechnology. Last month, Major League Baseball and the Cuban Baseball Federation signed a historic deal allowing Cuban athletes to play in the U.S. without having to defect. Political analyst Esteban Morales says the future of improved bilateral ties faces challenges.
Some groups that back President Trump in the U.S. disagree with a more aggressive policy toward Cuba. This U.S. internal dynamic can make it more difficult for U.S.-Cuba bilateral relations.
For now, at least, many believe ending years of mistrust between Americans and Cubans has a long way to go. Luis Chirino, CGTN, Havana.